and this is why a couple of weeks ago in a hearing on the Armed Services Committee with the Chief of Space Operations, I asked General Saltzman, I said, does Russia have offensive weapons in space by any chance? Of course, I already knew the answer. He said, yes, as a matter of fact, they do. And he started talking about Kamal. We don't have offensive weapons in space. They're the ones destabilizing space, which is why we have to get out ahead. The only way the world remains safe from players like Russia and North Korea and Iran, of course, and of course China, is for the United States to be stronger.
China's got one I heard that tested at 15,000 miles per hour. I mean, if they can circle the globe in, that would make it less than 2 hours, you know, if they were. But being able to knock that off, and the idea of the speed at which it travels, and if you don't have stuff in space, how do you deal with these bad actors?
It takes layers. It takes layers of communications, and it takes layers of communication that can communicate with one another. It also takes the ability to take brand new, whether it's hypersonic missiles of our own, interceptors of our own, of course, fighter jets, and satellites. But they also have to be able to communicate with legacy systems. That's why a radar station that's been around since the 1970s in Cavalier, North Dakota, which pretty much sees about a third of space, identifies everything that's up there. And we now know what those things are. It used to be, when I first started, they didn't know what they were. They just, they had numbers and they'd send it to somebody up the chain and say, hey, number 1344 is now moving closer to one of our satellites. They now know everything. We have a SCIF up there. We have intelligence officers up there. Why do I say all that? I'll say all that because the new has to be able to communicate with the old. And you're a software guy. You know how hard that is, right? To take a legacy system. To take a walkie-talkie that a Marine is carrying in the desert and have that communicate effectively with a satellite constellation. That doesn't happen overnight.
Do we're going to have to go to the break here shortly, but do we have the will and the resources in Washington to do this?
And
give me the 30-second answer.